Dynamite download.
AEW 2020, John Silver.
Special event, as you can see, SPD.
For a splashing good time. January recruitment month.
I come along, I come along in the ring.
I mean, I would not want to hear that. I would not want to.
Welcome to Dynamite Download.
Here's a Dynamite download. We are 1 year old today, y'all, and what a way to feel with AEW Grand Slam. What an episode, guys! Oh my gosh!
Oh, thanks for
Cheers to
that.
that.
Cheers to that. And yes, I mean, it was named appropriately because Grand Slam, Grand Slam is such an epic thing to do in baseball. And I think really, hence the tennis thing as well. But I think AEW did hit a Grand Slam at the bottom of the ninth in this one. And we know it's 4 hours that the fans are getting of televised TV. And what we saw on Dynamite tonight was pretty epic. I mean, a lot of great matches. We didn't get, much filter of, promos. We only saw essentially 3 promos, not counting, CM Punk's and the quick 2 backstage ones and a pre-recorded one. But this card, we've said it before on our previous show, pay-per-view quality card. And, we talk pay-per-view quality card. We honestly thought, it would end with what it started with. Well, it was kind of a little surprising. So we'll dive right into it. I mean, the show started with 2 of the best in the world, as some are saying, the best bout machine and Bryan Danielson kicking things off. Bonds, what did you think of this? I know all of us just kept saying, wow, 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 incredible, incredible, incredible.
I love your Bryan Danielson T-shirt, by the way, SPD. Nice
Yes.
white tee. Yeah,
That's right.
Nice
It's not plain though.
It's not.
No,
plain. Yeah.
I got to cover it up.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. No,
Big Jake and I had the same shirt on
we
today.
We gotta get a laugh or two in because
this is a $30 white tee.
The analysis of this match, guys. All of us, I think, got to a point when we were looking at in social media, and we were just it was hard to we didn't want to take our eyes off the screen. And there was a moment where I felt like that. Bonds, as a guy who's grown up and basically loved pro wrestling since I've known you since you were born, this had to be really surreal for you. 2 guys that are truly, as SPD put it last week's and last night's preview show, just guys that are pure technicians. Tell us what you think about this one, and honestly, starting off like you said, SPD, starting off Dynamite with our jaws on the floor.
Well, this was the match we were all waiting for, I think, and we got it immediately, which is pretty cool. Man, guys, we talked about it last week or on our preview show that this was a potential match of the year candidate. And you don't want to have that match be a draw, but man, it was epic from the beginning. This was a war these guys put each other through tonight, and it was everything we expected, and it set up, in my opinion, a lot of things that we're going to see in the future, because this isn't the last time Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson are going to have a match, especially after that draw, especially with the title not on the line this time. We're going to see this match again, and this was a preview for, I think, probably the main event we're going to see at some point here coming up, like maybe in the next pay-per-view. Who knows? We'll see. I don't know if they can put it off that long after this, but man, it was every bit as epic and intense and technically sound as we could have expected from these guys.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible stuff. I mean, like I mentioned yesterday on our show, this part where I was hoping they would just milk it, just soak it in, bring in the energy, bring in the adrenaline from the crowd. And
Oh my
boy,
gosh,
was that
and the
crowd
energy was
hot.
insane.
They were so hot. And, I kept saying, I was like, I want more of this. And this was like 10 minutes in. I was like, I don't want this to end in a time limit draw. And it made sense because, protected them both. And it's going to give us more and more and more of this that we absolutely love. But just the brutal, this was a kick and chop battle that I absolutely loved. I mean,
you had to be
Bryan
geeking out.
Danielson's chest was bleeding. Another
Poor
face,
Bryan.
like you said, it was the same color of his trunks, but it went from kick to chop to kick to chop to kick to. I just love that tandem 1-2 kick and chop from Bryan Danielson for sure. I mean, it was definitely echoing kicks by Bryan Danielson, and then Kenny Omega, man. He did not hold any punches back either, man. He was more physical than I've seen him in recent matches. That running V-trigger from the top of the entrance ramp was absolutely brutal. There's so many innovative moves in this match. And, being really big fans of both of these guys, I was like, whoa, they're pulling out these new things that I haven't even seen yet. And so I love that. And so they're wowing me, and I'm sure they're wowing you nonstop.
Well, I love hearing you just go crazy for this one, SPD, because these two guys genuinely are. I mean, to see your fandom for Kenny Omega basically the minute you saw him. I knew about Kenny before you, and
I didn't.
You have completely fallen in love with this dude's wrestling to the point where like I turned to you at All Out and I was like, hey man, you're right about Kenny. Like this guy is amazing. Like he is incredible. And when he has an opportunity to go like this with a guy who can go toe to toe with him, and this is why I loved Kenny versus Pac when AEW was first starting, where you get a guy who can hang with Kenny, and when Kenny can pull out all his best stuff, and then he's not going to hold back, and he's just going to go balls to the wall, and he's going to take it. It was just absolutely incredible. The energy in the arena was unbelievable tonight. If you were there live,
I wish I was.
Cheers to you guys if you were there, because honestly, it is an incredible time. It's an incredible time to be an AEW fan, and this was one of those moments where I was smiling to where my face hurt at points during this match, where I was just like, "This is awesome. This is truly as a SPD, you nailed it on your take. I mean, from a technical perspective, watching these two go at each other, it was like poetry. This was like Shakespeare in the ring. I don't know how else to put it.
You're speechless almost.
These two pushed each other to a point where everybody in the chat is saying exactly what I thought at the end of this match. That's it. We need an Iron Man match between these two. And that these two have the energy in them to go full bore and give us an epic Iron Man match.
That's what needs to happen after that time draw for sure.
Love it. Love that idea.
How would you book it? I mean, we talked about, every week we do our top performer as well. And, both of you guys, I try to be a little stickler and pick one person, but it was a unanimous decision. We're going to jump right to it because the top performers of the night were these gentlemen right there, rocking those white tees. Yep. Kenny Omega, the best bout machine, and Bryan Danielson. Wow, did they deliver and then some? I mean, instant classic for sure. Obviously, the fans may be a little disappointed at the end because of the time limit, because they were robbed of a finish. But that being said, if you look at the big picture, it's going to make all the sense. AEW always does that slow build, the slow story, long-term storytelling, like they're still doing it with Hangman Page if you're watching BTE and stuff like that. But top performers of the night are these two gentlemen that left it all out there in the ring to kick things off in front of the largest fans, largest crowd in AEW history. So what a way to make history for sure.
That's a nice thank you to that crowd. They got an awesome show tonight.
And that was just the first. Yeah, they kept the energy going the whole time, Bonds. Yeah. I mean, that was what's incredible.
As soon as the promo from Punk came by next, it was like they went straight from an awesome segment to an awesome segment to an awesome segment to an awesome segment to an awesome segment. It was the whole show just felt like it was like, okay, we're just going to keep up the same exact pace, the same exact just awesome feel for this crowd, and they loved it the whole time, and they were in it the whole time, and that's why it was great. But if you guys want to move on, let's move on to that Punk promo.
Well,
because
that's the thing, right, Bonds? I mean, like you said it. That was like on Twitter, I was joking around about like, okay, you start off with the best in the world and Bryan Danielson versus the best in the world versus in Kenny Omega. Then you segue into a promo in the best of the world in CM Punk. I mean, it just continued to. This was like a crescendo in the evening, and I can't wait to talk to you guys about that main event. By the way, but CM Punk cutting a promo on Hobbs and Hook and Taz, and gave us a little bit of a little taste, as SPD likes to say. Can you give me a little taste? Little taste?
Hey, that's the new BTE champ right there.
Of the heel, that edgy side of Punk. It was. I thought this. He worked his way through this really well, Bonds. You know, kind of saying like, okay, be careful what you wish for, but also kind of giving us a real human explanation as to why he's just always smiling right now. It's understandable. He's clearly loving life right now, but they'll get to a point where he's gonna be CM Punk again, and he's gonna have that edge, and he's gonna cut some razor sharp promos on people. And you know, all of us here are big fans of Powerhouse Hobbs. It'll be interesting to see if Team Taz is going to be the recipient of some epic pipe bombs in the near future.
I hope that's what we get out of this, because he's been hinting at stuff, Punk, and he did more this week. You know, like you said, he talked about being careful what you wish for. You don't want me to be like angry, miserable CM Punk again, because I'll go out there and you'll be booing me and all this stuff. And it's true, but it's also like this love fest is. I don't know when it's going to end. I don't know. I mean, we waited 7 years to have him back, and I feel like
I'm all for it.
This
still,
love fest is going to just keep going. He could go to every town in the United States like 5 times, and they're just going to be chanting CM Punk, and he'll flip them off and tell them that they stink, and they'll be like, "Yeah, we do. We stink. We're awful." And
yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do stink pretty bad. But I think that this is like a great opportunity to get him back in that edgy stuff with Taz. You know, he especially going against Team Taz. Ricky Starks is fire on the mic. Taz is still an amazing talker, and he's one of the best managers there is right now. I think if there's going to be a way to kind of have Punk kind of on that line, it's against a heel team like Team Taz. I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think that it's working. And this is the most interesting storyline Team Taz has been part of this year, which is saying a lot, because he's been on our TV a lot. And it's already the most interesting, because I feel like it's the most important for a lot of these guys in here. I think for Hobbs, at least starting out, it's a big match for him coming up, and then we're probably going to see Ricky Starks at some point. And I mean, everybody wants to see Hook in the ring, you know.
That's what I was thinking while you're talking. And SPD, you just said it. Can't wait for that one. You know, it's really fascinating that Punk versus Team Taz has been building so much steam, and Ricky Starks hasn't even been in the picture.
Right.
And SPD, I know, you know, Ricky Starks, one of your top guys for Breakout Star of the Year. He's clearly on that trajectory. You have to be kind of grinning knowing that AEW hasn't played that card yet. AEW still has the potential of Starks versus Punk, which could really be some fun breakout stuff for Starks too. I mean, I know all of us here see that charisma, that mic work, right? So,
swagger that he's walking with. I mean, he's got the gold on his shoulder. I mean, ever since he's got that gold, he needs to be featured more. It's kind of like a roller coaster with him. I mean, the FTW belt, I was hoping he'd put some, you know, importance on that, and I think we need to get back to that for sure. Yeah. And so Starks deserves that, man. That guy's a star, and I loved, you know, that pairing with CM Punk just gonna go roll through Taz, and maybe Team Taz. Maybe we'll see Hook get in the ring. You know, the fans are loving Hook. Maybe we'll see him get in the ring for the first time against CM Punk. That'd be quite your first match ever to be in the ring with the best in the world for sure. But it was pretty cool. I was, you know, driving in the middle of Arizona today and just scrolling through the radio because, you know, driving a big truck, and then Cult of Personality was on the radio, and I just had to blast it. It was a sign. I think Cult of Personality is probably going to start to rise to the top again now that CM Punk's back in the spotlight for sure.
Europe needs to take notes, man, because
I know, right?
$100,000 an appearance for that. I think they might have made a mistake.
Wow.
But
so everybody wants to hear that. But.
The only thing that could be a buzzkill after getting to see Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega and CM Punk cutting a promo against a guy like Powerhouse Hobbs is that we had to sit through MJF coming out, the biggest dirtbag in professional wrestling, as I like to say. SPD, this one was, as we talked about, an iron sharpens iron experience. How do you feel like this one turned out?
It was very hard to follow all this stuff for sure, but I think MJF stock is still rising now after this one. We kind of predicted or were hoping maybe Pillman stock would rise a little bit, but I think MJF stock is rising much more after this. I mean, both, Pillman's gear was great. MJF came out with new gear. The guy, MJF, man, he just does everything right. And even the announcers, they could not, give him props for how good he is. They're calling him how horrible he is, and the scum of scum, the bacteria on the scum, all the things that they say to try to relatively PG-13 what they really want to say as well. But the guy, I mean, he can sell with his facial expressions. It sells with his body. I mean, he sells so well, and he tells such a good story. And the stuff with Julia Hart as well. And, I think the guy, what a
jerk moment that
as much
was,
as we hate him, it's as much as we love him, right? So we'll just give it a quick, public service announcement. Dynamite download is endorsed by himself, the Salt of the Earth, MJF.
But if the guy's going to take some time to come in here and hang out with us, that he secretly likes us.
That's true. And like I said on our show yesterday, and like what you're seeing in the chat is, I think the biggest turn out of Wardlow will be the one where he puts MJF in his place, kind of shuts him up at least for a little bit, begging for mercy, begging for him to stop with the pain. And then he'll give him the ultimate thumbs up, thumb down. The crowd will go berserk, and then it'll knock MJF out for sure.
Love that idea.
Dave Bautista.
I love that idea. That visual of him kind of giving him the crowd, and the crowd would be fully behind that. I love that idea. The crowd, understandably, I felt like took a little time to get behind this one. But as soon as MJF went to he kept digging deep into his bag of tricks to get people to hate him and to cheer Pillman. When he stood behind Julia Hart, what an absolute piece of garbage that guy is. And hey, props to him. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, my friends. And he pulled off another W, and he showed the world why he was Bonds' number 1 overall pick. Bonds, where do you see MJF going after this one in a much needed victory that you said?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Man, I don't know. I think that this could be one of those things that starts off some one-off feuds for him. This might be the best way to do that. Have him do some one-off stuff, maybe get him pushed a little bit, and that's where we see the Wardlow turn. I do think that's kind of the end game for this right now, and it's being set up, and it's smart, and it's taken a long time, and it's going to be a great payoff because it's taken so long. They didn't rush it. They didn't go, okay, we got this big guy that everybody likes who's really good in the ring. Let's just do it now. No, they're making us wait for it. They're making us like really, really be like, okay, like we want Wardlow to turn. Like this guy's awful. Like we hate MJF and we want this guy to like beat him up so bad. Well and I think that having him go against a lot of like baby faces like Pillman is going to just get that heat even more because again, there's only so much you can do only so many times you can do the same match with Inner Circle like that. That's good that it's over. That's good now. And like now they can focus on, okay, let's maybe turn Wardlow. Let's maybe get MJF even more heat. Maybe put him in some sort of title pictures even too, and maybe have that be where the turn happens. Like, who knows? I think that would be an interesting thing, especially if, Sammy Guevara wins the TNT title, which is potentially happening. So that could be another setup there where we get some like, okay, MJF's in the title picture now. Maybe that's
True.
when that turn comes, makes that turn a little bit more important. You know, I think that would be kind of cool, a lot of fun. I want to see him in that picture because, again, this guy doesn't need the belt, but how awful would he be with a belt, guys? How
Can it get
amazing.
worse? Can it get more awful?
I mean, when we were doing our fantasy booking weeks and weeks ago now, I remember, you know, we all talked about it. MJF with the TNT title seems like such a great fit, you know, just a guy who can just be braggadocious, be the face of the brand,
always defending it on TV.
Yeah, I think that like MJF with some sort of gold, although not needed, certainly would put him over the top and give him more reason to rub our noses in how great he is, and that's what makes him so good at what he does. I gotta say, we're talking a lot about Wardlow turning on MJF, and we know that that MJF is clearly a fan of this show and listens.
Yeah,
thank you for tuning in.
Maybe we're spoiling it for the War Dog. Maybe the war plans are spoiled, and MJF is seeing this and is already plotting for a way to be one step ahead of the War Dog. We never know with MJF. The one thing is for sure, we don't know what's next for him, but we do know that guy is somewhere scheming, figuring out a way to get more green and gold because that's what MJF likes.
And whoever he's going to face is probably going to lose because
gold, and margaritas for MJF, baby, all day, son. I would love to talk more about that, but honestly, I'm going to let you guys jump in here and talk a little bit about Cody Rhodes and Malachi Black. This was the only match of the night where Crayfish, I felt like my heart was a little bit broken. I know that the internet wrestling community likes to think that they're super smart. I consider myself part of that too. Lifelong wrestling fan, and I feel like I was swimming upstream on this one. I was the salmon that kept pushing, baby, but I just couldn't get anybody to buy in on the momentum with me. I wanted Cody Rhodes to win desperately, but I think in the end, I might be winning because Cody might be joining Team Heel after tonight.
Wow.
I mean, after tonight's performance, how can you not say that Cody is going to lean into that a little bit? I mean, he was getting booed more than anybody on the show.
It's a hard position to. I mean, I was thinking about this. When has a new signing for AEW debuted and not gotten cheers, whether they are portrayed as a heel or a babyface? And I think this is another one of those scenarios. Like you pit Cody Rhodes, who I'm a huge fan of, and I love what he's doing, and I think he's, should be true babyface through and through. But you put him against someone so unique in Malachi Black, who's been so held back, and now he's finally broken the chains free. And the wrestling fans are smart, and they see that. And AEW fans, I feel like, are smart because they are cheering good talent. Look at what's happening with Adam Cole. Yes, he's a heel, but he's getting some of the biggest pops of the nights. And so that's happening with Malachi Black. And even if they are going against, a Jungle Boy, even I could see Adam Cole and Jungle Boy. I could see even cheers for both of those. And that's one of those things. I think that you put Cody in a tough position. And I mean, he's got to be here. He's got to know all these boos. And so whether he's going to try to take it off or he's going to try to lean into it and take it all in, like, how long, I hate to say it, about the other company, but how long was Roman Reigns getting booed? And then finally he turns heel and look what he's been doing, and things like that. But John Cena never turned heel. But all in all, this match kicked off with epic entrances by both guys. I thought they were really, really stellar stuff. And I liked how Cody came through the stage, and it was cool to see Brandy come back and all that. But the battle between, I think it was a nice, well-fought match for sure. And I did like the ending. And I think we all agreed that Malachi Black needed this win more than Cody needed this win, even though he is kind of returning in a way. It just to keep pushing that in as well. So I like the way, and it wasn't the typical knockout kick like we've been seeing. So the mist for the win was clever and unique, and I think Malachi Black is just going to keep pushing, and then hopefully will grow his house of black very soon.
Oh yeah, man. I I really liked this match a lot. It was a lot of fun. It was nice seeing Crayfish in the text chat, like, "Oh man, Cody lost. This stinks."
You can see it on my face right now, man. I always wear
oh
my
yeah,
emotions
but we
right
got
on
to
my
see it
face.
live, everybody. We got this live commentary from Crayfish. He was so bummed out.
If I was
And
there,
man,
I would have been the only guy in the crowd screaming for Cody. I would have been.
oh yeah, you would have been, man. That crowd was hot.
You're right.
They did not
right.
like Cody tonight, and I don't think that was exactly warranted because this was a good match. These guys both like put it out there, and I think that Black's offense is so unique and fun that it's easy for the crowd to get behind it. But man, Cody did his thing too. He always delivers, and that's what I love about Cody. I give him a lot of garbage sometimes, but I do love that about Cody. He always delivers in the ring. He's always true to himself. And I like the fact that he came out there with Arn and Brandy, and it was a lot of like they were getting chorus of boos from the crowd, and they were just like kind of soaking it up, kind of not. And then, Cody took a while to acknowledge it, but he went like, okay, like I see how it is. He said it to the right to the camera, man. He noticed, and I don't know how you couldn't, because you could hear it to the TV. And man, like I said on the previous show, if Cody won against Malachi Black, we would see a riot, and I believe it more so today than I did yesterday.
Wow.
Because I think that would have happened, man. That crowd would have not accepted that finish otherwise. Not at all.
Well, I'm so happy that everyone was able to go to go home happy tonight. That's awesome. I'm happy to, I had to just sit there and be quiet the whole time because MJF told me I talked too much. So I just sat here and listened to you two go on and on and on about how great it was that Malachi Black won. I'm just gonna let's move on to the next match. I don't even want to talk about this.
It gets a delete from Crayfish.
I'm absolutely disgusted.
We'll let you take the horn on this one, because I know this is a lot of you. Where is your Darby Express whistle?
That's why you're the baby face, SPD. Thank you. Now
So,
I'm all happy again.
Lead us off for this one. And even if you do talk too much, Crayfish, what you have to say is important, and you always have great things to say. You are the backbone of our show,
God.
and everyone loves what you have to say. Even though you are team heel, and I disagree with a lot of those heel antics, I'm babyface for life. Lead it off, baby. FTR, Sting, and Darby. Man. You must have been salivating over this one.
Oh, baby. I mean, you just turned my world right round, baby. Right round. Like a record, baby. Round,
Watch out. We don't want to get demonetized.
You absolutely – yeah, that's funny, but honest to God, like, you just turned my world around. This was a match that was absolutely, for me as a tag team guy, I just sit back and I watch – FTR, my first and foremost, like, guys, FTR are so damn good at what they do. Let that soak in. I mean, I know that when we got to watch Bryan Danielson versus Kenny earlier in the night, I was telling myself, like, all right, I'm witnessing greatness right now. Guys, FTR versus Sting and Darby Allin, we got to witness greatness in this match. And I know it wasn't the 30-minute epic that the opener was, but there is no one. And again, I love the AEW tag division. For those of you who have been with us since week one of this one year journey, SPD and I have had a lot of conversations, and I have planted my flag on two things. The DMD is a breakout superstar of this company, and the tag division in AEW is the best tag division that I've ever seen. And as I've said, they have dialed back the tag division a little bit and allowed other. I mean, this company has gotten so flooded with talent, guys. It's unbelievable. But FTR, whenever I get to see these guys in the ring, I'm reminded that this tag division, whenever Tony wants, he could snap his fingers and he could put on clinic after clinic after clinic every single week in the tag division. If he just throws out some of the long list of great tag teams that this division has, and it starts with the uncrowned tag team champions, FTR. And I know they lost this match, and they lost after one of the most memorable coffin drops that I've seen as a Darby fanboy. That choo-choo, baby. When I saw Darby drop that coffin drop onto the apron, I knew that it was over for FTR. I was buying into every false finish in this match. but when I saw Darby drop that one, I mean, that was pretty freaking awesome. And FTR helped make Sting look like $1 million. I know both of you guys on the other side of it, you agree that the Sting Darby combo kind of stood out to you guys, right?
Yeah.
This is the combo. This is the Darby that I absolutely love, is the tag team Darby. And Bonds, you and I agree with this one. You know, Des Darby has stood his own as the TNT champion and all that, but the pairing with Sting and actually with others, it works so well because his offense is so unique and can take the punishment and then kind of have this random explosiveness to it. And like he showed tonight, kind of the nail in the coffin per se with that coffin drop to prevent Cash from breaking up that submission. You know, Sting looked like $1 million tonight. The guy is performing years above his age. The stuff, I mean, it's unreal. The strength, the power, and the stuff he's doing, the cross bodies and you know, the stamina he has. It's truly incredible stuff. I mean, when have we seen a legend, an icon, perform the way he did? You know, the first time when we
over 60 years old,
61 years old, and he's doing the stuff that he's doing. And so when we first saw him, we're like, okay, yes, he's paired with this high energy young guy, Darby Allin. And so maybe he'll get a couple high spots, you know, the stinger splashes and that. And then we've seen him jump off the casino chips. We've seen him do these big things. We saw all these other stuff. I'm like, a guy this, you know, seasoned doesn't have to do this stuff, but he's doing it and he's making it look easy and making it look good. Right. It doesn't look, he's looking like, I'm not saying in his prime, but he's looking like he can he stood tall and he was hanging with FTR, and which is to me, yes, such a true tag team that this, you know, industry needs so much more of. There's, you know, true tag teams and just their style, the ground and pound, and true heels. I mean, absolutely loved it. I mean, Bonds, I mean, you got to be loving it too.
Oh man, as a fan of both of these squads, this was just a joy to watch. FTR, they are so good at making their opponents just look like $1 million, man. Like the fact that they were able to make Sting look like he was 30 years old again is just so cool. And I love that about these guys. They do it with everybody. I mean, they do that with every match. They look like $1 million, their opponents. And it's because they get it, and they are so, I think, head and shoulders above most tag teams in the world. Because they get it. They get their old school. Yeah, they're old school. They have that old school mentality where they like, okay, we understand the psychology behind it. We understand, you know, we got to make this guy look good. And even though we all kind of were hoping that they would win this match, it bums us out that they didn't, because, you know, that was going to hopefully put them back in the tag division championship picture. But you know what? It didn't really matter because it was such a good match anyway that I think that whatever they're going to do with Darby and Sting, and hopefully this continues the storyline, because there was some interference with Tully, you know, putting that chair in the corner. That was really interesting. It didn't work out for them, but I kind of hope this continues because this match was so good. And I like that. And again, to go back to Darby in the tag division, I like him there because he doesn't have to take so many bumps, and you're able to see his offense and what he does so well without him having to put his body on the line so often. He still does it. Like he did it for the coffin drop. I mean, that was a nasty move, but he doesn't have to do it every time he's taking a move. It's great that you get the best of both worlds when they're in the tag division with Sting. You get to see Sting, you get to see Darby take less bumps, and you get to see them wrestle the best tag team roster in the world. That's great.
You know, I couldn't have put it any better, Bonds. I think I appreciate you making the point about FTR and how they serve as such a great foundation for other teams that look great. And that was something that I wanted to bring up. So I'm glad you said it, because you said better than I could have. And
without being jobbers.
And although you and SPD talked about it in the chat, and when you first said it, I was a little salty because I feel like I always had to be defensive of Darby on this show, because SPD is the baby face and everybody loves SPD and and he can come on here and talk trash about Darby and try to
hey, we don't talk trash here.
You try to knock the Darby Express off the rails, my friend.
You're knocking the Darbster.
And I know it's not mean spirited, but he's just not your cup of tea per se.
Things have changed.
And
drink your tea.
I get I get it now. I get it because when you guys pointed it out, sometimes less is more, and Darby's kind of one of those guys. I get what you mean. He's got you got to protect him a little bit,
Right.
And there's something really cool about how he is so willing to disregard his own safety to win a match. But if you see that over and over and over again, you almost lose the respect and recognition of what he's truly doing. How
He turns
reckless,
into Dolph Ziggler.
Basically a guy who's becomes celebrated for being able to make other people look great and getting beaten up. And I want more for Darby than that. And that's no I mean, obviously Dolph has won.
Oh, he's awesome. That wasn't an insult.
Accolades. No, it's not.
That wasn't an insult at all.
Actually, Dolph Ziggler, one of the best, like, I think, sellers and underrated guys. One of those what if stories. I don't want Darby to turn into a what if story. I don't want Darby to get injured and to really hurt himself.
Right.
As a guy who loves what Darby does, I see the value in what you guys are talking about. You allow Sting to come in and get those big power moves and to kind of get the pop of hitting those moves that we all remember and love from childhood. And
Nostalgia.
you get to sprinkle in what Darby does best, and that's that balls to the wall, pure speed. Sprinkle that in. Although I was hoping for FTR to win, and I get what you're saying that it makes sense. They needed a victory. Fresh off of having my heart broken and seeing Darby lose in Chicago, I actually like seeing Darby get a W here. I think it pushes him in the right direction again. And a guy who always teeters on being the crash test dummy, as SPD says, it gives him that momentum again, and it keeps him moving forward in the right direction. Because if Darby racks up too many L's, he certainly could kind of go off the rails. So I thought this match worked in a lot of ways.
Agree. And we'll talk about, I mean, I'm curious of, like you said, Bonds, I do think this will go a little bit longer in terms of, the feud, because the Tully Sting thing is kind of intriguing as well. I like that. And you could see if Tully is going to come back in the ring, it is a good pairing is, the Spears, Tully, or even Dax and Tully versus Sting and Darby. So you can stretch that one out. But before we get into our main event, I got a quick question of, let's say, the books closing or anything of all the matches we saw tonight, other than the opener with Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega, do you see Cody Rhodes and Malachi Black that being kind of done and moved on? MJF obviously and Pillman, I feel like, has been done and moved on. They built up to that because it's not an in-depth feud. And then with our next main event that we're going to talk about, DMD and Ruby, do you still see that going on? What feuds do you see continuing after today, or ones that are done of the matches we saw?
Well, I do think Cody and Malachi is going to continue, especially after that finish with the spitting in his face kind of thing. Yeah. I think that's kind of a cheap finish in some ways. So I think that is a way to make that feud continue. I don't know if maybe after the crowd reaction they might not. I don't know if that's going to be the case, because that might have not been what they expected. But I think that just based on the booking of it, it would make sense for them to have maybe another match. But I don't know. It's tough. A lot of these felt like kind of set up quickly after All Out feuds to kind of get people into new directions. I do think that DMD and Ruby could have some good stuff. If they continue, could have some good stuff. But again, I think that those are the only two that really could go long term. Obviously, Kenny and Danielson are going to keep going, but
that one's a given.
I think the show was sandwiched by two that have potential to have some real legs to them. I think Bryan Danielson versus Kenny. I think we all here, everyone, you'd have to be not watching to think that one doesn't have potential.
Living under a rock.
Exactly.
Yeah, you have to be living under a rock, folks.
Right.
And then to me, and I'm a diehard DMD fanatic here. I've had to step back and give Ruby some props. I've had to see, like, she's hung in there with Britt. She's taken some of Britt's best shot on the mic. I
Those
mean,
promos were great.
Some of those promos that Britt was delivering, and some of those lines really were brutal. And Ruby showed an ability to work through it and hold her own. Now I'll say this: I don't think Ruby versus DMD is going to be its own entity in that. Let me explain. I think that the finish.
Sure.
This is what I was calling for before, and it also leans into what you've been talking about, SPD, having to flesh out the division and build more feuds and things like that. I think Ruby versus Jamie Hayter those two could put on some banger matches, and I would really like to see those two get into a little side feud, and it keeps Ruby in the periphery of the DMD, keeps her in that main event circle, and obviously keeps that anger and that feud with her and Britt going.
Sure.
But it also would allow other contenders to creep into the title picture. And to me, I want the DMD. If it were up to me, the DMD era would just start from the beginning of when AEW started and would end in probably like 5 or 6 years from now. But I'll be honest with you, the only person that I see taking the title off of Britt is Thunder Rosa. And so I think
agreed. That's a unanimous here at Dynamite Download. You know it.
And it's been that way for a long time, brother. That is the feud. I say it all the time on social media. We try to push that's the feud in professional wrestling. That is the best feud in pro wrestling. And when AEW wants to tap back into that, they know they're instantly going to have money. So I think that they're doing a nice job of keeping Thunder off of Dynamite, keeping her out of the DMD's periphery, but I think it's only a matter of time. Thunder she came up just short in the Battle Royal when we were there at All Out. And I think there's a big push for her on social.
Right.
Thunder Rosa versus DMD is the long term. So I think that Ruby can stay involved with the DMD and keep feuding with her, but there is room at the top. The DMD is going to have a lot of people chomping at the bit. I know there's a lot of options all of a sudden in the women's division.
For sure. And this match was a well-deserved main event that these two women got tonight. You have a very significant addition to AEW, and then obviously the face of the division, and some would say the face of AEW in the DMD, getting that spotlight in front of the largest crowd, and probably it's going to be one of the largest TV crowds as well. With the big hype and the size of the card that we've been looking at. So these women went to battle at first. I love DMD's offense to kick things off. She was very aggressive. And then, as I always say, we get the biggest heel, bigger heel than DMD, bigger heel than MJF. The picture-in-picture always happens in the women's match, whether it be the women's match starting the show, middle of the show, or end of the show. They always get the picture-in-picture. But I was happy it was a little bit earlier in the match. So you had about 10 to 12 minutes at the end. Right. But the end did seem a little bit rushed, but that was fine. But I agree with you. This feud is gonna it's gonna be intertwined a little bit, but it's gonna they're not. I don't think they're gonna get their rematch. I think that part is done. There is so much depth to this division, and like we're seeing here,
hearing you say that, bro, that is so awesome to hear you talk.
Yeah, if you would go back and watch episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of Dynamite Download, it took me a while to get on the women's division backbone because I was hard on them because I saw potential and I wanted so much more out of them. A year ago, I'm curious of what the women's roster looked like, and it was nowhere near this. This is well-competed roster for sure. I mean, you have the additions of who we're seeing. I mean, we know our favorites for sure. I mean, just off the cuts, obviously Thunder, Jade, a champion DMD, a defending champion, Ruby's addition, Deeb,
Conti. There's a lot of stars.
Anna Jay, all these people, and so this division is one of the fastest growing ones, I think, and one that has shown the most improvement. So it's been fun to watch for sure. But this match, the DMD being in the only 2 women's main events, there's a reason behind that. And
right,
like we
son.
said, the ultimate payoff will
Brit's
be
money.
for sure. She is money. The DMD, baby. I liked it. It was a good way to close the show for sure.
Man.
To give that spotlight, to not have it a rush spot or anything like that. It gave respect to that. And I almost wish they would have hyped that up more, saying, leading up to tonight's show, saying that they are the main event. So they deserve the hype, not necessarily like right before the show. Oh, by the way, this is the main event. Like they should have hyped it, because they hyped up that one versus Thunder and Britt, because the main event is a big spot. And, this was the only title that was officially defended tonight. So it did make also sense that it was the main event as well.
Right.
So a lot of different things. But yes, man. Bonds, what's your take on it?
I mean, you guys pretty much said it all. This match was a lot of fun from the beginning. It was a good debut match for Ruby Soho on Dynamite to end the show. Man, that was awesome. Like having that main event, women's match, title match, like having that end the show was just a perfect culmination of the whole night, guys, because we got to see an amazing match early on, a show that held us the whole time, and we got to see the only title match to end the show. And we got to see one of our favorites go against a newcomer that everybody loves. So it's a lot of fun for everybody. I'm sure the crowd just was eating that up.
Oh, man.
Like, again, this was a relatively longer match for what we usually see in the women's division. It's
Sure.
like 15, 17 minutes.
Yeah.
So we got a longer match, which is great. It's what it needed. We didn't get a rushed main event like we've had the last couple of weeks too. It went to basically till the show ended, and we got the lockjaw with a minute left in the show.
Yeah.
And it was just epic. And I think that what was interesting too is that we got to see Britt against somebody quite a bit smaller than her looked in the ring, and Britt looked like great heel. You can just tell how much she's improved in the ring. This is like a culmination of that as well, man. She looked great, and I think it's awesome that they're really pushing her and sticking with her and giving her this opportunity to be the DMD as the champ, because she's earned it. And this was a great match. It was a great main event.
Yeah, I like that last point you made too about Britt kind of having her size. If in kind of being in a power position. If you go back and listen to some of the episodes where SPD and I talked about the Thunder Rosa feud, that was one of my favorite parts about getting to see what Thunder helped bring out of Britt. And Britt being in a position where she got to be kind of almost a powerhouse, kind of showing off her strength. Yeah. I like seeing that side of the DMD. So often she has to be portrayed as the cowardly heel that we're not allowed to see kind of what she's capable of in the ring when she's able to toss some people around a little bit.
Right.
And I that's one of the things I was most excited about this main event was because I feel like Ruby kind of is cut from the same cloth as Thunder, and some of, I think, the women's best talents that understand that it's about building each other up and about working together to put on a great product. And you're seeing the cream rise to the top. AEW, when we have those interviews with other talents, SPD, you either get on board or you get out. You got to be all about the brand and helping each other get better. And I see that right now in the women's division. Like I talked about, that the tag division has at points, I felt like the last few months, taken a little bit of a step back, and the women's division has really stepped forward. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that there's this division, these women are really in on what and you could tell AEW believes in this division. They're investing in it.
As they should.
And again, that is a testimony to how far they've come. We think that there's obviously, I'd like to see Riho and Shida and some of these other names that kind of came up at the earlier days of the women's division get that opportunity now to test themselves against this division now, because this division has grown so much, man. It's unbelievable. It's really cool to see, and it leaves me wondering, what's next for the next big feuds of the women's division, and there's room for more than one.
There is.
That's for
there
sure.
Needs to be. I think I want to see a growth of a tag division. Like I've said before, you build that up. You still need a little bit more depth. And that's why I've constantly said, like, bring in a true tag team. Like, if you want to add more women, I think you debut a true tag team.
The Iconics would be a
someone that
great fit.
would be great. And then that way you can start creating tag teams to go against these true tag teams. So like I said before, or as we're kind of seeing, Penelope Ford and the Bunny and the Dark Order, Tay and Anna, like you can start to form that, and then others could start to develop.
And it'll
It's still
expedite
early.
that build as well.
Yeah, right. So debut a true tag team in the division to kind of make be a little wrecking, and then that way you can instantly create a tag division, in my opinion, because that tag team tournament they did a year or so ago, I think it was too early. It was a little premature, and it didn't work out the way it should have worked out. I think they were testing the waters, but that is that. But on that. Rampage 2 hours this Friday is going to be a killer show. I mean, there's going to be 6 matches on there, and you just talked about tag team wrestling, and it's going to be filled of tag team wrestling.
Go through the card, brother. Go through that card.
Every single match is okay. So I can pull up the graphics if you want to start talking about something while I get them prepped.
Well, no, I mean, we went through the matches we were most excited about, and
we talked about
you just talked about that, like, tag team action. There's going to be a lot of tag team work on this upcoming show.
The main event, they announced that this one was going to be the main event, the lights out match.
Pretty wild.
Ooh.
That's a surprise. But I like the lights out gimmick, and it makes it feel like that's gonna. I mean, we talked about it, man. SPD, you're such a big fan of Lance Archer. Just having this guy who feels like a chaos, like we said, a chaos agent in AEW.
Yeah.
You never know what's next for him.
I love what you said about that.
At any given moment, he could be attacking your favorite wrestler. You don't know. He's that kind of mindset.
Is he a heel? Is he a baby face? Is he yeah?
Everybody dies. So I like that. I think that's pretty cool. And again, it builds off of that theme of this Friday's show. It's going to be a lot of tandem based offense.
Yeah, and then you have this trio match, which is going to be a lot of fun. Woo! So you have multiple tag matches. You got Adam Cole, Baby, and the Young Bucks, Christian Cage, Jurassic Express. We got a little tease of that early on, for sure. Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. And then the women's match, which we just talked about, is going to be Penelope Ford versus Anna Jay. And, they're continuing that HFO Dark Order, the women going at it type of feud as well. So I think this one will be a nice one. It's nice to see Anna Jay getting a lot of ring time back in there already. She's, been in it twice already since her return. At All Out.
With Penelope Ford of late too. I think that's a great matchup. I think that'll be a real shocker to some people who haven't seen Anna Jay because she's coming back from an injury. Mm-hmm. Penelope Ford's going to bring out the best in Anna Jay. I think we're going to see a great one there.
That's right. Powerhouse Hobbs, which we talked very highly about, and CM Punk. Is he going to get him up there on his shoulders and get him to go to sleep, or what we're going to see out of this? This is a true test. It's a complete opposite type of person than Darby Allin. Powerhouse has got the slow build, slow pace, the strong, slow, methodical in-ring stuff versus, Darby Allin's fast-paced, high-aggressive offense. So total opposites. CM Punk, any performer, any fighter has to adapt to their opponents, as Thunder has told us before. This one I'm really looking forward to just because obviously I'm a huge Inner Circle mark, Chris Jericho and Jake Hager versus the Men of the Year. And if you watch the Road 2, which I highly recommend everyone watching that Road 2 if you haven't already, there's a great segment about this, and I totally forgot about, Scorpio Sky did pin Chris Jericho before, and, both guys at the Men of the Year have MMA, karate backgrounds and things like that, and so them surrounding themselves with Dan Lambert's
makes sense.
What is the song again, Bon?
Fat face dipshit. Yeah.
Fat face dipshit. Yeah.
All those other fat face dipshits. It makes sense for that. But this one will probably, the last one we're going to talk about, will probably get the biggest. Well, it's tough. A big pop of the night when you have Santana Ortiz, Proud and Powerful, in their home backyard right there, pairing up with the Lucha Brothers, who are probably one of the most over tag teams right now, the Champs. Versus this. So I think I like the pairing of Lucha Bro. I like that 8-man tag. So, in a show we just saw, talking about singles wrestling, Rampage is full of multi-man matches. It is, other than the CM Punk match, there's a lot of talent featured on Rampage this Friday, and wow, it's gonna be a fast 2 hours for sure.
This is a showcase show. Tonight was kind of the reward for everybody getting all these awesome matches, and I think the Friday the Friday show is going to be like, okay, man, like this is our roster, this is our depth, this is what we got. You people that are coming in here that haven't watched this before, like you're going to be in for a show because there's some awesome stuff that we're going to see. And man, I want it to happen tonight. Like, I just want to start Rampage right away. I wish it was like a 4-hour show. It was like a pay-per-view.
I know.
We just got 4 straight hours of wrestling because, I mean, tonight's show felt like 5 minutes. It was like a 5-minute episode of Dynamite. And so I would have been totally down for just all 4 hours, same night, give that crowd even more juiced up. And just be like, Tony Khan comes out. Just kidding. It's not on Friday, guys. It's going to be tonight. Here you go. Merry Christmas.
My gosh.
That'd have been amazing. And I would have been totally fine with it. But, they have to split it up. I get it, how it works. TNT, they got contracts and all that stuff.
Of course.
But, hey, executives at TNT, you're watching, you're seeing the show they're putting on for everybody. Give them that extra hour. Give them that extra hour.
Give the people what they want.
That's right.
Exactly.
The crowd is demanding more AEW. That's the truth, man.
Just don't make any of the shows 3 hours because that's too long.
The truth is the truth for sure. And as we're wrapping things up, guys, and everyone join us, thank you again. This is our 1 year anniversary show. We've made it to 1 year, and from where it started to where it began, almost 1,200 YouTube subscribers now, multiple talent interviews, some great things on the horizon, on the books already. And the best is yet to come. Everyone says it's always cliche, but once we're riding, AEW's momentum is riding extremely high. A lot of great stuff is doing, with the company, and we're happy to be a part of it for so long. And it's just motivating us. You guys motivate us. The company and the product motivates us. It's a great time to be a pro wrestling fan, an AEW fan, and Dynamite Download is honored that you guys always support us all the time. And thank you so much. And this is cheers to 1 year, everyone. And we'll see you we'll see you online, and we can't wait for more and more stuff. We're gonna stay tuned, and like we say in our slogan, buckle up for it.
Elma Fudd.
Give them the cup.